Today, what we're going to do is we're going to lecture through enzymes. And so you'll need your notes for this, so you can pause it and get your notes out. You also want to bring up your enzyme lab from last week because we're going to go over that. And these are useful things to know for the quiz. So, our plan of attack for today is we'll go ahead and lecture through enzymes, talk about the lab, and then there is a small discussion question that talks about different types of enzymes, particularly enzymes inhibitors that works as medicines. And then you will work on your test review. So we're still planning on having the quiz on Wednesday. That's going to be over macromolecules and enzymes. And then on Friday will be your test, all right? And you have the test review. I will put up some additional Quizlets reviews, all that good stuff for you, all right? So what we want to do is kind of talk about the lab that we did last week and finished up, and how does that relate to proteins and all that good stuff. So the first thing, again, we talk about enzymes. Enzymes is that protein that allows for many, many different types of chemical reactions to occur. Now, you probably noticed when we did the lab that we saw a lot of enzymes. We worked with a lot of enzymes, catalase, all that good stuff. And here's the thing. A good way to know that if you're dealing with any kind of protein, it has that amine group, but oftentimes, when we talk about enzymes, they all have that ASE at the end, all right? And there's just so many different types of enzymes that do many different things. Lactase is involved with breaking down lactose that's in sugar. Maltase, sucrase, same thing, breaking down different sugars. Our bodies can't necessarily break down that sugar on our own. We rely upon these enzymes to break it down for us, at least to lower the activation energy here, okay? So let's kind of talk about this energy with everything here. So again, when it comes to our bodies, our organisms, these cells, the most efficient route is the best. And unfortunately, a lot of times with these sugar molecules, they're very strong. They don't just start to react. They don't break down. They don't break the bonds without having some form of energy put into the system. Now, these happen and we have the energy for it. The problem is that most reactions and the amount of reactions we need would require a ton of energy to go into the system. This is why, for example, things like starches, where it's a polysaccharide of many sugar molecules, it takes longer to break apart those individual monosaccharides. And this is why for us, this things like cellulose or fiber, we can't break down because it's too much. It's just too many bonds and require too much energy for it to occur. We don't have the enzymes for it. But we have to figure out what is a way in which we can lower the amount of energy needed for these reactions to occur, all right? And this energy we keep talking about, the amount of energy, is what we call the activation energy. The activation energy is the amount of energy needed to essentially start the reaction, okay? And that depends on many different factors. It depends on how strong the bond is, how big the molecule is, all of that good stuff. So the question is, how does enzymes do this? Well, first of all, enzymes work by as catalysts. And the big thing is they work by lowering the activation energy. They lower the amount of total energy needed for the reaction to occur. Do we still need energy? Absolutely. But we can see that with the enzyme, it is going to lower the amount of total energy needed to get to those products. That saves a ton on the use of energy, and it also makes the reactions occur quicker. So this expedites the process tremendously. Now, if we kind of take a look, how does an enzyme go about lowering the activation energy? All right, so we kind of have to look at the basic type of structure of an enzyme. So we have the enzyme, we have a spot called the active site. And this active site right here works in as a way of what's called like a lock and key model, in which you have an enzyme that is specific to a particular type of substrate. And that substrate binds onto it in a perfect form, all right, just like a lock goes into a key. Now, here's the thing, okay? With this in mind, that means that enzymes are specific to the type of substrate they work with. So they can't just randomly go to every single molecule and induce a chemical reaction. Number one, we wouldn't want that because we want things not to be broken down sometimes. But number two, the body can also control how it digests or goes through many different chemical reactions. And so the body would control the amount of enzymes or block the enzymes from actually happening. This is where we get that terminology enzyme inhibitor, in which you have a chemical, something produced by the cells, or even medicine for that matter, that goes and blocks the active site, keeping the substrate from breaking down, essentially. But what is it about this active site that really kind of induces this lowering of activation energy? And it has to do with what we call the induced fit model, in which when this substrate comes in, it's fit perfectly, and it kind of gives a little bit of I don't know how you would say it, but essentially it wraps around the end the substrate, and it causes a distortion of the molecule. It causes the bonds to become closer in with one another, and that causes kind of uncomfortableness, if you will, of the molecule, leading to an easier change of breaking bonds and rearranging that particular molecule. So this is why I was saying to you earlier that proteins are determined by their structure in terms of function. When you change the protein, aka you change the active site, that leads it to where the substrate can bind onto it. And so this leads us to believe, or leads us to understand, that structure equals function when it comes to proteins. And when you start making changes to the structure, that's going to ultimately affect the active site. That's going to affect the way that the enzyme interacts with the molecule, and it's not going to work as well. So, how do enzymes work to build and break down macromolecules? Just like we said, again, enzymes have mechanisms to enhance condensation and digestion reaction, aka things like hydrolysis, dehydration reaction. All of that is involved with the enzyme. So the enzyme can pull other things such as water, oxygen, those types of things to be involved with that particular thing. So the enzymes can have multiple types of substrates to them. But once those substrates bind onto that active site, that allows those bonds to break and reform into the product structure. And like I said, the key things with this is, first of all, enzymes are reusable. Okay, so this is why it's not so much the body can really control the amount of enzymes it can make, because enzymes, once they're made, are pretty functional. They do have to be replaced, but they stay in pretty long. But the question is, how do we stop an enzymatic reaction? How do we keep it from working? Let's say we have the enzyme, but we don't want that enzyme to function. Well, that's what those enzyme inhibitors do. They go in and they block the active site, so the substrate cannot bind onto it. All right. Now, also we know that with the enzyme, it just makes reactions occur easier. It happens at a much quicker time. And finally, we know that enzymes are specific to the type of substrate. Okay, and that's all based on the induced fit model, lock and key, all of that good stuff. So, how does the body control whether the enzyme works or not? And that, everybody, is what we call the enzyme inhibitor. And there's two types of inhibition of enzymes. The first one we have is what's called the competitive inhibitor. This is where this inhibitor goes and attracts and binds onto the active site faster than what the substrate does. All right, and so this goes in, has a higher affinity for that active site, binds onto it, prevents that substrate from binding. Okay, Now, another type is what we call the non-competitive inhibitors, and this is where it binds not to the active site, but to a different part of the enzyme, and that causes a change in the structure of the enzyme, which leads to that active site being changed, and so that substrate was not able to bind. So it either slows or even stops reactions from occurring. Now, the cell has ways of removing these inhibitions, these different types of molecules, so that it can continue on. But the way that the body controls these enzymes is through the enzyme inhibition. And many medicines also work by blocking or inducing these inhibitions within molecules. And so that's one of the activities that you're going to be doing today, is which you are going to find some common types of medicine, one medicine in particular, and describe how it works as an enzyme inhibitor to treat any kind of illness or disorder. Now, I've mentioned a few times now, changing the shape, changing the shape, changing the shape. When we talk about the shape determines the function, and sometimes environmental factors can affect the rate of a reaction. So let's talk about that, okay? We'll come back to that. When we talk about changing the structure of the enzyme, okay? When we talk about the structure of the enzyme being changed because of environmental factors such as temperature, pH, all that good stuff, we call it denaturing. This is where, remember I told you how these amino acids all have particular characteristics to them. Some of them are hydrophobic, some of them are hydrophilic, some are neutral, some are forming disulfide bonds, some have a positive, negative charge, etc. Okay? But when you mess with the environment, that's going to affect the way the atoms interact with one another. And so when you have a low pH, a high pH, those types of things, that causes the bonds that hold this amino acids together to form this protein structure to unfold. And we call that denaturing. And when you denature, you change the shape of the protein. Okay? So what are some things that affect enzyme activity? Well, first of all, definitely enzyme concentration and substrate concentration. The amount of enzyme or the amount of substrate will determine the amount of product being made. Temperature, we know that with increased temperature, that's increased energy, and that's going to cause atoms to move faster, and that would essentially affect the bonds that are holding all those proteins together. pH, same thing. When you have those H pluses, those OH negatives, all those kind of things affect everything. Salinity, the amount of salt concentration, heavy metals such as lead also affect these particular enzymes as well. And we saw that